But do you have in your mind a favorite, and now that you're going to get back into engineering mode more, favorite vocal recording chains, vocal mics, vocal preamps? Have you dug back into that? Are you going to do you have old favorites, but now you're going to explore new things? Are there things you hear where you go, this is an amazing vocal, and you ask about the chain and you go, oh, it's that mic again, or it's that preamp, or any of that sort of stuff? Do you have thoughts on recording vocal chains?
I'm a huge fan of ribbon mics. So, and a lot of people will push back and say they're too dark. It's like, well, that's why you have EQ.
Well, this is what we talked about in both of the times when I had Matt Beckley on, and those of you asking about vocal stuff, the great vocal producer Matt Beckley, we did 2 hours. He and I both said, ribbon mics are dark, but they take EQ better than everything else. So the high end is magical on them.
Yes. So just over EQ. Just because it sounds dark the moment you put up, we're dark in comparison to what we're listening to.
You can throw 20 dB, you can throw 30 dB of high end on a Coles 4038, 4030, I can't remember. 4033. And those motherfuckers sound beautiful.
Beautiful. So I would look there first with some sort of tube EQ. Like I have the Hazel Ray VLCs.
Yeah.
They have basically a passive pull textile EQ built in and a top boost on a ribbon mic. I just turn it all the way up, like you're just saying. There's no numbers on it, so I don't know how much it is, but it's probably between 10 and 20 dB of 10-ish K. It just takes it beautifully, and it starts sounding like a pop record. I have a song, or had a song last year that I produced and recorded in my loft completely with ribbon mics and 2 preamps on the radio, on alt radio for the length of the year. I think it was a top 10, and it was all ribbon mics. It doesn't sound dark. You wouldn't pick it out and go, that was a dark record. So that can be done. I like a good 251 if possible. I have a C12 clone from AKG from the 70s that I use and like. I would like to get a new one. It's on its last leg. I've had it for 20 years, I think, at this point.
We should talk before you get a new 251, because I got some insight on that. I actually have, I won't name drop, but I have somebody's 251 on loan right now, which I'm going to compare to my vintage, my 50s long body U47 right over my shoulder. Somebody asked me about 87s. Did I have an 87 or a new 67? I have been trying to find a pair of 67s for years and years.
67s are great.
And every time I find so I have a pair of that weren't matched, but have been matched by, can't remember who did the service on them years ago, but 2 vintage 87s, which sound amazing. But
yeah,
to
vintage
find
87s are a different beast.
To find a great U67 or a great U47 or a great old 251, when vintage mics, as you might imagine, they all can sound very different. Different aspects, different components within them can deteriorate in different ways. A lot of them were just like made by a guy in a factory in Germany rather than mass produced. So oftentimes they all sound different. But if you can get a good 251, a good C12, a good U47, a good U67, I think there's nothing better. I know that the modern mic is the C800 that everybody uses. That shit is super bright. I think you can get it to sound good.
Yeah, you can. You're committing to brightness off the bat and non-dynamic top end. It sounds like compressed brightness right off the bat, so it makes you think it wins in a shootout. But I swear to God, an AEA R44 with the top end cranked all the way up on a good preamp with a low noise floor so it doesn't sound noisy will be a better version of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know how to exactly describe this concept, but of course we talked about it a lot with the CLA vocals plugin. There's a lot of products out there because so many more people are making music. I mean, shit, even the idea of talking on Instagram and having, over the course of the life of one of these things, 1,500, 2,000 people watch these things, which is small by comparison to a lot of other things. There's so many people making recordings now that there are a lot of products that are oriented toward people who don't want to do as much work, which, by the way, is really wonderful, and anybody can make music. But one of the reasons that we have these talks is to try to elevate those people that are inundated with simple products that do all the work for them, to actually deconstruct them and talk about why we are using what we're using and how to think about it. So a C800 is a great sounding mic, and if you have 10 grand, I would spend it on something else. And it's a great microphone. And if you have one available versus some shitty like USB mic, use the C800. you can get an amazing vocal with it. Tons of hit records, and hit records have been made on shitty mics too. It doesn't mean you can't make great things, but what we're trying to do is elevate the detail that is provided for a lot of people in, you know, all-in-one plugins or pre-hyped microphones. So things like ribbon mics are things that, you know, you do need to understand that you're going to have to EQ it a lot, and it's going to take more gain, and you'll have to find the right impedance on a preamp. You have to do a little bit more work, but the results are going to be not only more flexible and I think better, but also you'll elevate around your peers.
Exactly.
So that's the reason. I don't know. I just want to go on a rant there for a second.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't given it much thought because when I go work, I imagine that working other studios will have access and we'll have budgets to rent too. So I think I'll use the label budgets to rent some things to get to know them a bit more. I have a great ribbon mic collection already from AEA. I have a bunch.
What do you have?
And I have a 44, two R88s. What's the other one? And I want to say an N22. I have biodynamic M160s that I love. Two of those, and a M130, which is a figure 8 version of it. And I probably should get a pair of Coles, but my producer homie Tyler, who I'll be working with, has Coles, so we have that.
I think the Coles is far and away my favorite ribbon mic.
Have you put it next to an R44 though?
I have both of them. Maybe I should do that today.
The KU4 is also awesome. I don't own one, but I love that mic.
The KU3A is the original old one. That's what they use on all the Disney sound stages and shit.
Oh, really?
So all those like amazing old like Sinatra records and Disney strings and the Capitol stuff is all KU3As. Those are amazing, amazing mics.
I love ribbons and tube preamps and tube EQs. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I want to use that. If anybody cares to listen, the song called Fast Talk by Houses was it was the top 10 alt song and on the radio, and it sounded so good. We recorded it all up here with tubes and ribbons, and it does not sound dark. It sounds fat. It sounds chunky. It sounds exciting. Everything was recorded through what I'm talking about. And nothing was programmed. Everything was recorded, every sound, except for an 808, which I think I ran through VLCs anyway, just so it fit in the same realm, honestly.
Well, I have one live 808, which maybe I'll send you, which I've never really sent to you. I think one of the which is a big, and it's a giant, like 40-inch marching drum. Oh, are you still there? Can you hear me? It paused.
Barely. It paused, but I can hear you. Okay,
well, maybe wait for it to come back. Oh, there we go. We're back. That I recorded back at Barefoot at Eric Valentine's place during the Dredge project when I did the Dredge album. That's just a low, like 36-inch marching drum. It's just a big doom. Yep. It's magical. So I'll send that to you. And then, if you ever want to have a non 808, you can steal that.